We have seen one round of severe weather move through already. Could have more as the night progresses. Plus, flood watches have been issued. We'll tell you how much rain we're going to get. Karen?
All right, Ben, we also have breaking news. Sentencing is underway for a former police officer convicted of murdering a man in his own apartment. We'll tell you where things stand. Paula.
Hi, I want to show you this. On this corridor, you are more likely to strike a deer than anywhere else in southeastern Michigan. But animal experts say deer are the only things you need to worry about this time of year. These stories and more are happening right now on Local 4 First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, record heat, storms, and a big temperature drop is coming. We'll see a little bit of everything in the next 24 hours, and we want to make sure that you are ready for all this. So let's get to Ben Bailey. He is going to take us through. It's been a gorgeous day, Ben.
So far, Karen, but we're packing a lot in here. Let's start with the latest, and a flood watch has been issued for parts of our north zone for Genesee, Lapeer, and Sanilac counties. This runs through Wednesday afternoon, so the amount of rain is something we're going to be watching. Of course, there are thunderstorms ongoing right now. Most of these are north of 69, and you can see they're pretty much just in a line going over the same spots over and over again. We don't have any warnings out for severe weather, but this area is one of the spots we've got to watch. That's where the slight risk is. That's category 2 in the scale. You go a little bit further south and we've got a stripe of marginal risk, and that runs down to the city of Detroit. So most of the stronger storms are going to stay north of the city tonight. Then we got to start worrying about the rain. That red stripe, that's 3 to 4 inches of potential rainfall from now through Thursday in parts of our north zone. So we'll talk more about that. And of course, the record heat, all coming up in a few minutes, Karen.
We've got breaking news from Dallas. Just hours after a guilty verdict for a former police officer, sentencing is already underway for Amber Geiger, who is convicted of first-degree murder before noon. Devin Skillian has more on the trial of the officer and why it's such an important case in Dallas and really nationwide, Devin.
Yeah, Karen, being watched everywhere. We're monitoring the sentencing, which is going on right now. This case has had so many elements to it, including racial overtones throughout. Amber Geiger is white. The victim, Botham Jean, was black. She was off duty. He was unarmed. Geiger testified the shooting was a tragic mistake, but the jury agreed with prosecutors and determined it was instead murder. It was a year ago when Geiger was returning home after her shift on the police department, but went to the wrong floor of her apartment building and entered the apartment that she says she thought was hers. Geiger confronted Botham Jean, thinking he was an intruder, and shot him dead. That trial lasted a week. Deliberations took just a handful of hours. It ended with a guilty verdict. Under Texas law, Geiger could face from 5 to 99 years in prison. Attorneys for the victim's family were asked what they want the sentence to be.
We believe in the wisdom of this jury. That decision is in the hands of this jury. And so we believe that Botham's life mattered, and we want to see a sentence that reflects that.
Just a little after 3 p.m. Dallas time, a live look at the sentencing portion of the case. Unlike Michigan, it gets started directly after the verdict, so it is already underway. Members of Jean's family have been talking to the judge so far about what they would like to see, what they believe is fair when it comes to sentencing. So, Karen, not known if Amber Geiger is going to testify before the jury. She testified earlier, but will she testify now in the sentencing portion? Yeah, as soon as we have a sentence, we will bring that up to an update for you here and on clickondetroit.com. Back to you, Karen.
All right, thank you, Devin. Right now we are learning more about a deadly shooting in Warren as a man is accused of the murder of his child's mother. 34-year-old Marcus McLean is accused of killing 27-year-old Derica Blessett after she refused his sexual advances. Now, this happened over the weekend at a home on Studebaker near Hoover. McLean is now charged with second-degree murder and felony gun possession. He's being held without bond. We'll have much more on this story tonight at 5. We do have some breaking news from the UAW about the ongoing strike at GM. Now, we did just receive an update from the union on the negotiations. The newest letter to membership says that General Motors offered a comprehensive proposal last night at 9:40, but the UAW said it was not sufficient on several issues, including health care and temporary employees. The union has now sent a counterproposal and is waiting for a response from GM. As we learn more, you'll hear about it here and on clickondetroit.com. Just because Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed the state budget does not mean that showdown is over. She has vetoed large parts of the plan that landed on her desk. The governor issued 147 line item vetoes amounting to $1 billion in budget items. She also used her powers to transfer more than $600 million within departments. The governor said the legislature drew up a budget in unlawful ways.
They reappropriated work projects in violation of state law. They tried to micromanage MDOT without working through the Transportation Commission and PA 51 that they supposedly hold so dear. These are all examples of the unlawful pieces of this fatally flawed mess that they sent to me.
Well, we're open to having ongoing conversations. That was our agreement 3 weeks ago when the governor agreed to table long-term discussions on roads. Then you saw her veto record funding because it wasn't a long-term fix. It's really difficult right now to negotiate with someone who can't make up her mind.
Well, the governor says she wants to resume negotiations with Republican leaders on Thursday. Speaker Chatfield is not yet committing to be there. Our coverage of the state budget continues. New at 5:30, we're going to take a look at Governor Whitmer's decision to kill the popular Pure Michigan campaign. Then new at 6, what is next for Michigan's roads? Whitmer proposed and promised a fix, but can she find a solution? Stay with us at 5 and 6. Now, we are expecting a judge's decision on a challenge to Governor Whitmer's vape ban. That ban is supposed to go into effect tomorrow. Now, a vape store owner is challenging the ruling. He says the emergency rules enacted by Whitmer went around Michigan's typical regulatory process. So if the ban goes into effect, stores would not be able to sell flavored vape products starting tomorrow. Right now, it is a dangerous time for wildlife and Michigan drivers. Deer deaths on the road are on the rise, but it's not just deer that are at risk. Paula Tutman takes a look at why so many drivers are slamming on the brakes this time of year.
So I want you to take a look at this data. This is all of the crashes in 2018 in southeastern Michigan, and it actually populates on this map right here. With a click of a mouse, you get all of the deer crashes in southeastern Michigan. 5,954. But watch what happens when we zero in on Rochester Hills. Here's the axis, Rochester and Avon Road. Which brings us to how Rochester Hills naturalist Lance DeVoe spends part of his fall scraping deer. Rochester Hills gets the single most deer strikes in southeastern Michigan. In 2018, 151 deer car collisions, an average of 23 per month between October and December, compared to an average of 8 per month between the months of January and September. Can you extrapolate from that? Do 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. At SEMCOG, or the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, they do the number crunching.
So during dusk and dawn, especially when it's still kind of dark out and people are either driving to work or driving back from work, those are the most.
The numbers are startling. 375 more deer hits in 2018 than in 2017. And deer crashes resulted in 1 fatality and 8 serious injuries. And while human injuries are low, property damage is high. And when a deer is at fault, the insurance companies usually see it as you are at fault.
Oakland County has by far the most deer-related crashes in our region, and then second to them is Washtenaw County.
In Rochester Hills, Lance DeVoe explains what's behind the numbers.
With fall upon us, that's the breeding season for deer. So does are running across the street, bucks are chasing after them, and this goes on, you know, all day long, goes on at night.
But Lance says this time of year, don't just think about deer, no matter where you are. Non-hibernating mammals also become accident bait as the weather starts to cool and they rev up to survive, ignoring oncoming traffic in favor of food.
Like raccoons, like possums, like skunks, for instance, squirrels, all those animals, they may become dormant at some point in the wintertime, but in the fall, they're more active too.
So starting from today until the end of the year, this is the time to really think about coexisting with the wildlife. If you do head into a deer, do not veer. You just got to resist the urge. You got to take it head on because that does less damage. Also, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to little eyes on the side of the road. Just take it a little slower because animals are going into the road for acorns and food. And we have to make sure we're watching out for them so we don't get into trouble, Karen.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you very much, Paula. Still ahead, first at 4, frequent flyers, listen up. The FAA is taking a fresh look at seat size on airlines. Now, we know that's a common complaint Plus, there is a big airfare sale underway. Up first, deputies arrest this man after a school security failure. They say he was intoxicated and was carrying a potential weapon.